continue being part of the family, you won't get disowned, right? Because in Asian cultures, that is how it is. All right. So now I want to talk a little bit about the hiring process. So pre-COVID, there is an emphasis on a lot of factors regarding fresh graduates particularly. But one of it is this. Based on the picture, can you guess what is this requirement? Just try guessing in the chat section. Okay, it's a bit vague. So let me just get to it. Degree, yes. So not far, yes, it's a degree. But basically your education, right? So which university you're from, which degree is it? What's your CGPA or your GPA? You know, we do look into that. And some companies like Maybank have like a minimum GPA for certain positions. So it does matter. They'll look into that a lot. Because as a fresh graduate, you don't have working experience, that's what they look into. Besides that, they also look into internships or previous working experience. Okay, so the main difference here is, for example, if you, let's say you worked as a waiter before, or you work part-time in a sales position before and something like that, don't think it's irrelevant to quote down because it just depends on how you phrase it according to the job. There's a whole science behind that, but I don't have time to get into it. But if you have questions, you can drop it here and I will try to answer at the end of the session, all right? But basically look at your education, internships, and also how you communicate. That's a big factor. And that's a lot of times what, you know, if you, let's say you're best on paper, you have the technical skill, but you can't communicate with the team, still not going to make the cut. So they focus a lot on your communication skills, how effective you are in communicating your skills yourself and with the person that's interviewing you. And last and definitely not least, attitude. So I like this quote a lot, hire for attitude, train for skill. That is literally the attitude towards most fresh graduate hiring. Because again, they don't expect you to know the sun and the moon and the earth, you know, they don't expect you to have 15 years of experience in a job. They want to see how fast you can learn, how coachable you are, and how ambitious you are. So they'll determine how well your long-term success would be. And that is the determining factor for how I am able to gauge and maintain my 100% retention rate until today. It's really all about just attitude. That is the secret to it. All right. So that is pre-COVID. So how has COVID-19 changed the way people hire, right? Not just fresh graduates in particular, but also in the workforce. But I'll say it has now trickled down into fresh graduates. So main thing they look at is this, skills. So what you have on paper no longer matters too much. They are going to be focused on what you can do. So again, they don't expect you to be experts, but you have to have at least a strong foundation in whatever skill it is. So let's say if you are, PR and communications, you have to be able to, for example, write scripts, press releases, understand the different formats. You have to have a good base. If you don't have a good base, they're going to look into it as well, right? Your base understanding of the technical skill has to be there for them to be able to coach you. Number two, you have to be able to handle a lot of pressure. And this is what they're going to, emphasize to you as well, because the way COVID has been for everyone throughout the workforce, from junior positions until senior management, senior leadership, it's all about how well you can adapt to the climate. Because every single day in business during the COVID-19 season, it's constantly changing. Whatever happens changes. The government drops a policy, things change. You have to respond very, very quickly. And I think the keyword here is agile. Okay, you have to be agile, you have to be flexible, and you have to handle stress very well because they are busy fighting their fires. They don't have time to babysit so much. So the more you're able to handle pressure and the more used you are to it, the better your chances of getting hired because they will make you understand the difficulty of the situation. You just have to adapt to it, which again boils down to attitude. But what attitude in particular? Because historically, right, majority of people who do well in positions and do well under pressure have a certain type of personality. So they look into that a lot. Right? So you have to display values that shows that you can, first of all, be independent, be self-motivated, and to drive yourself basically to do well and to grow faster. Because again, they don't really have time to babysit during COVID-19. So unfortunately, most of the time you have to hit the ground running. You don't have time for orientations or for, like nice lunches and stuff like that. People are busy responding to a lot of things in order to keep their job and keep the business going so that you can have a job in the company as well. Okay, so that is basically the climate right now. It's very fast. It's very high stress, I would say. So I want to be straightforward with you guys because again, me not being clear with you would be a disservice to you. So let me make very clear the disadvantages you're facing as a fresh graduate in the market. This is important to take note of. I'm only going to repeat it once. So disadvantages are basically this. You're competing against the experienced and skilled professionals, mainly 2 to 5 years. Usually you're in a different category, fresh entry-level positions and junior or experienced positions. But now, because of COVID, companies have less budget hiring. And if people who have experience are out of a job and they need to pay their bills, they're going to be, more than willing to negotiate on salary that's a bit lower. That might be within your bracket. So what this means is you're going to compete with people with skills, and that is going to be a disadvantage because they know a little bit of the industry, they've worked before, they have a portfolio to show it. So that's something you need to be aware of. You're going to be classified in the same strata as these people. Number two, you're going to have, you have lack of experience with dealing with workplace etiquette and politics. So again, because now is a very high tension period, you have to know how to, negotiate times where, your boss chews you out, or if your coworkers are being unreasonable or trying to dodge work or something like that. You have to know how to handle that. So not having that experience of managing workplace politics or etiquette is also a disadvantage you need to be aware of, right? You have to be careful. So number three, you lack your knowledge of your rights as an employee because companies are under pressure, there's a lot of pressure for them to have to make certain decisions that may be unpopular or slightly unethical. So having to know your rights as an employee is a big part of your whole experience as an employee. And if you can't defend yourself, it's going to be very tough. Okay. Number four, if you're still searching for what you're looking for, then yes, it's constantly changing. So you won't have time to, learn and reflect so much at work. And most of the time you can handle a lot of different things. But there are also advantages to being a position of a fresh graduate in the COVID-19 climate. Because first, your generation is more familiar with digital skills, which is largely what the economy is being shaped as right now. Okay, everything's going digital. Everyone is going to be looking into digitalize some aspect of the business, and you need someone who understands what the environment is like. And trust me, a lot of experienced people who are like maybe quite senior in the industry, they don't know what that looks like. So you have an advantage there. Second of all, if you don't know what you are looking for, you're more open to trying more things. Because again, a good side to this is you get to try a lot of different industries, a lot of different work that you probably wouldn't be given a chance to if it was more calm times. So you are the type that likes exploring a lot of different fields and trying to get your foot into one side of the door and try to gauge where you want to specialize in. It's honestly a good time because you get to try everything. As long as you have the initiative to ask, they're more than willing to let you do it. Okay, and generally speaking, you still cost less than most experienced professionals. Difference might be different, but the reason I'm raising this point is, again, when it comes to HR has a budget for hiring, they also look into how much they have to spend. So a lot of the spend right now seems to be on maybe one senior leader and then a lot of fresh people who are fairly capable that can be trained fast because they're more agile. And again, leading to my next point, you have no bad habits from previous experience. So I mean bad habits, it means, when you start working for a while, you have a certain way of doing things that may not fit certain company cultures, but you having no bad habits to carry forth from a previous working experience is also a big part on why you're going to be more agile. Okay, so take note of that. There are disadvantages and advantages that you need to take note of. That's going to serve you quite well. But again, thinking about CVs and all that, right? In terms of hiring, it's usually not very good. It's not very efficient because you apply for a lot of jobs. Like I've had some people in my career coaching practice who have applied for like 190 companies and only got a job 6 months later. And she's experienced and she's quite well to do, quite good in terms of what she does. It takes her that long. So think about it. There has to be a better way on how you're going to attract jobs, right? Which brings me to the next part of my talk, which is going to be how to beat the system and become a job magnet. All right, so before I go into this, yeah, are you guys still with me? If you are, just type in yes in the chat section so that I'm aware of it. Yes, sir. Wow, don't need so formal lah. Please, Tyler will do. Yes, okay, cool. So most of the time when you write, let's say a CV, right? There's a thing called a personal statement, which doesn't really encapsulate you well enough. So, being totally honest with you and being transparent with you as well, during the COVID-19, I had to close down Recruitling because, first of all, we were capital heavy as a startup. Number two, it just wasn't the climate to grow, a business in that industry. So I had to close it down, and to let go of my team was one of the hardest things I had to do. But during the time, I also had to take advantage of my skill set to try to find a creative way to beat a ATS. Because again, I'm fairly well aware that my CV is not um, favorable for most companies because I jumped between jobs, and being someone that grew quite fast, they don't most of the time they don't understand that, and they would try to discriminate or beat me down on salary and stuff like that. So I needed a creative way to approach my job search in a way that I let them find me instead of me finding them. So I want to share some tips with you guys on a smart way to think about your job search. So there are 3 rules here. First rule I'll say is you are 10 times more likely to get the job if employers approach you as opposed to you approaching them. So think about this for a minute. Why is this? It's because simply if they were looking for you, they already know there's something that they like about you, right? Something that they think they see the potential in your growth or your skill or something like that, and they approach you. So anyone who applies after you, they're not going to consider them a lot. And in the past, I have seen that as well. When I see a candidate that I've liked, as a recruiter, I'll approach the person. Anyone else who applies automatically looks more dull to me. And that's the same for all the recruiter friends I've had and a lot of HR clients that I've worked with as well. So that is one rule that I think is big that you should really take note of. Okay. Second rule, interviews are two-way conversation. So as much as they are evaluating you as a person, you are also evaluating the company to see if it's the right fit for you and if you can grow with them. All right. So a lot of fresh graduates will approach interviews with the mindset that, they are there to try and get the job. No, you're here to have a conversation with the person that is interviewing you, your potential hiring manager, to see if there's something you can work out, right? It has to be 2 ways. If it's not fit for what you want to become in future, honestly, don't take it. Find something else. They'll appreciate you more that way, right? Which brings me to my third point. Be firm about your personal brand. Because again, a personal brand is literally what makes or breaks a good career or a good business. Because when people work with people, they don't work with machines. If they were to make work with machines, it's a lot simpler. But people are complex, and different people have different values. Keep that in mind. So never compromise on your personal values or your personal brand. Be firm about it. Okay. If you have any questions about this, drop it in the chat section. I'll try to address it later. But until now, if you have any questions, again, drop in the chat section. I will deal with them a bit later. But first, smart way to think about your job search. First of all, that is, resumes versus this platform called LinkedIn was something I started exploring. And how many of you actually have a LinkedIn account? Well, I know the team that, invited me for the talk has a LinkedIn account. How many of you have a LinkedIn account? Just type in yes in the chat section. Eng has a LinkedIn, okay. Denise, Nicole, Janice. I think I've seen Janice try before. I think you were like friends with my friend Jonathan. Yeah, okay, cool. Yandra, Mark, Chang. All right, made it years ago. Wonderful. All right, so LinkedIn, you guys have LinkedIn. So let me talk a little bit about the potential of LinkedIn and why I decided to use that to do my own job search and to build my career through LinkedIn as well. Because again, all my position moves from Hayes and to Recruitling were all, found through LinkedIn. They found me through LinkedIn. So I believe that it's a very solid platform for that. And why is that? Oh, you're friends with Laura, actually. Cool. That is a really small world. But yeah, she's from Taylor's as well, so it's no surprise. All right. So let me just share some stats with you guys. First of all, 92% of all recruiters use LinkedIn. And this is based in Malaysia, by the way. So out of all the agencies, because you need a certain license to be a recruitment agency or, a HR department in Malaysia, there's a license you need to be able to hire people. So based on that, we can gauge that as 92% of all recruiters are on LinkedIn, and we are using LinkedIn every day to stalk for new talent. Okay, keep that in mind. Fact number 2, there are 122 people who received an interview through LinkedIn as of last month. 122 million. You know how many people are on LinkedIn as a platform globally? 610 million. So that's a large hit rate. If you think about it, I think it's what, roughly 20%? It's much higher than any job board or any career page, in terms of success results. So 122 million people out of 610 people receive an interview on LinkedIn. That's large. And if you think about the number of senior people that are on LinkedIn, that means majority of the people who got interviews are probably from the younger professional crowd, and they won't consist of that much. So there's a lot of potential still for you to attract the right kind of company. So I'm going to talk a little bit about LinkedIn profiles because, again, in our Stories Lab, we've already helped about 300 plus individuals since March this year to create solid personal brands of LinkedIn that have helped, both to grow their business and career in terms of attracting the right kind of attention they want to themselves. So there's a science behind that, and I'm going to share some tips with you guys on how you can build a good LinkedIn profile it's sort of a speed class for you guys, right? So I'm going to try to make it as concise and as clear as possible for you on the tips that you should look into for building a good LinkedIn profile that recruiters like myself in the past would have picked up. And yeah, how you can attract more attention to your profile. Because one of the questions I think from the entry for the registration was that, how can I become more visible? So I'm going to talk a bit about that. But before I do, can you just type me in the chat section if you are ready to take notes? Violet's ready. Eng is ready. Cool. All right. So I'm going to speed through this kind of fast because, again, I only have an hour. So if you have any questions, do drop it in the chat, please. I will address it as soon as I can. I'm going to go quite fast here because I have a lot of ground to cover and I want to give you guys a lot more information that will help you along. Okay. So first thing you need to think about for your LinkedIn profile is this. This is literally the first thing people will see. It's your profile picture, your banner, and your headline. So this is an example here on screen. Profile picture, banner is the back part here. You see, like, I be an engineer, that is the one. And your headline is this, mechanical engineer, fresh graduate looking for entry-level opportunities. So that is a headline. Now, what do you guys think when you see this? Just let me know in the chat section. Do you think this is good or is this bad? And why? Just one thought. Just drop it in the chat section. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Normal. Okay. How do you mean by normal? Is it like, you mean like no impression or like, okay? Fair description. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I feel, as a fresh graduate, he encapsulated his profile quite well. And these are the main reasons. So number one, picture-wise, I think he did a good job. Again, professionally suited up for guys. If you have a blazer, otherwise tie and shirt is fine as well. Just a professional shirt is okay as well. But if you're gonna not wear a blazer, at least wear a tie. Okay. For ladies, formal wear, if you have a blazer, put it on as well. Otherwise, any work shirt would do as well. Background is plain. It's not going to be very noisy. Noisy backgrounds tend to distract people. So if you're going to have a background, at least blur it out. It'll help a lot. And also he's front facing. You can see the face. A lot of people, like take from back photos, all these fancy poses. No need. It's a professional platform. Hit shot, at least half body. You're good. Okay. And you notice over here, he put hashtag open to work. So that's a feature on LinkedIn that you can use to show that you are open to working. So those of you who are final year students, this is important to take note of because recruiters, the way we gauge who to approach first is how fast this person can be placed. We have a KPI for the number of people that we have to place, and therefore we're more motivated to place people who can be placed fast. So we open the work now, state a date, and yeah, people will be more willing to reach out to you first compared to other people, right? Take note of that. Number two, when you're talking about banner, it's always good to utilize it rather than anything that is a typical blue background lah. Try to put a bit more effort into it. It shows. It really makes a difference. Okay, a lot of people are like, does it really make a difference? I can just leave it blank. It doesn't have any value. Add something that adds to the vibe of your operation. So this guy is looking for mechanical engineering. There's escalator with the words, be an engineer. Okay lah, it sort of makes sense, right? It has that sort of congruency in the communication there. And again, his headline, he did a fantastic job, by the way. So this is something you probably won't notice, but LinkedIn is basically a search tool that recruiters use look for talent. And the way we do that is by keying in keywords, which I'll cover in a little bit. So this is everything that I need to know as a recruiter to understand his position and what he's looking for, literally. So I'll walk you through. He's a mechanical engineering fresh graduate versus engineering fresh graduate. I know his specialty is, or his focus for his career is going to be in mechanical. So that's clear. Fresh graduate looking for entry-level opportunities. So you know he's fresh, he's looking for a start, he's not looking for an internship, he's looking for a full-time job. So he makes a very clear distinction there, and that's why that's good. Okay, so think about this for your own position, for your own industry. If you're from PR, PR fresh graduate looking for entry-level positions in what field, what industry, what specialty. Try to be as specific as you can with the word count that you have there, okay? Second part, a big part of it is personality in your about section. Okay, so when I mention personality, by the way, this is from my own LinkedIn. I'll give you the guide as to how I crafted my own about section and why I crafted it that way. It shows your personality because remember I mentioned about your personal statements in your CV not being enough. It really isn't enough. Like recruiters, we just glance at it like, yeah, it just, it's the usual fluff. You talk about, using formal words. I mean, we all do it. Use formal words, use, very professional language, but it doesn't tell me anything because everyone else writes the CV the same way, right? But your about section on your social media on LinkedIn, you're able to express yourself in a way that people can say, hey, we kind of align with that personality, and this might be good for our culture, for example. So let me do this. These are the sections I want to highlight to you for the way I'm communicating myself here. So first of all, here's an opening. I'm not going to go into that. Let's focus on the red boxes. So I use very simple language, and this is what they call directive language. So the first thing you need to know about me, just to direct them here. So when they see first, they're going to be drawn more attention to this point. First thing you need to know about me is I live to solve people problems. So that is my personal mission per se, right? And I justify that across all the things that I do. Again, I'm not going to go into all my past experiences, but these are the things that I've done. So I've been a ghostwriter, recruiter, people strategy manager, physical therapist. Again, yeah, a lot of different things. And yeah, second part that they need to know about me is this. I'm a functional creative, someone who loves creating new structures and merging concepts to produce new innovative concepts that garner better results. So these are what I carried into all these fields. So not only do I tell them my personal mission, I tell them about my work preferences. So they know that if they put me in a very repetitive job, I will suffer and die. If they put me in a position where I'm supposed to have to innovate or to come up with new strategies or to come up with a different line of products or to refine processes to be more precise, then they know that this is something I might be interested in. And of course, you always provide evidence. So this is literally like how you answer your university questions as well, right? In your exam, you give your point, you expand on it, and then you give example. Because if you don't give example, then what's the evidence that supports your claim, right? So I worked on a project explaining interrogation techniques to compel confessions versus compelling truthful speech as a ghostwriter, and I applied that what I learned during my time as a recruiter. As a result, I was able to compel more truthful replies from my interviewees, which allowed me to make more accurate hires. So I still maintain my 100% retention rate record, and across all my clients, you can check with them, they are still there, right? So that is my evidence there and how I aligned and tied together my various industries that wouldn't make sense if you look at it all in one go. So this is a good way you can justify your difference in interests and how it aligns so that they don't have to assume it for you. Okay, so you're clearing assumptions about yourself here. And of course, a part that's heavily underutilized, if you want to get hired fast, honestly, make it easy for us to contact you. Because recruiters, we hate looking for CVs or phone numbers or something. If you have like an email or something they want us to contact you by, list it down and we'll drop you fast. If we like what we read, we'll drop you a fast message. Because it's all about speed for recruiters. So here, I drop again my email. So for you guys, you can consider doing the same. Talk a bit about your personality, your work preferences, what you might be interested to learn, or it feels you're interested to go into in terms of work. And of course, leave a way for them to contact you. Make it as easy as possible. It makes a big difference. All right, so these are the first 2 points. I'm going to go through another 3. So are you guys ready? Still following? All right, let's go. So third part you need to take note of is your skills section. So these are what that would look like. This is again from the same example I did earlier. This guy, this is his skill section. And note over here, this is directly from LinkedIn, by the way. I have a friend working there. So members who add 5 or more skills receive up to 17 times more profile views than those who list below 5 skills. So that is again something that's important to note. And in terms of what you can list down, industry knowledge, if you have anything that you're touching on your internship, write it down here. Any of the technical jargon, write it down. Tools and technologies. Okay, if you are working, let's say, a more technical field, because I'm aware we have some, computer science students here with us today. So if you are using any technical software or any, like, for example, video editing software, digital marketing software, and so on and so forth, list it down here so that we know you have experience with it. It makes a big difference. Interpersonal skills as well. Again, this is a little bit fluffy, but if it matches your about section here, if it matches that personality, it makes sense. And don't underestimate the power of that. It's a very powerful tool to know. Okay, so that's for skills. And again, these are keywords, which point. It's all about the keywords. So as you guys know, Laura, yeah, like Janice will know Laura. I'm sure a lot of you guys might have heard her speak at one time or in the past, or you've seen her content trending on LinkedIn. So she's a social media marketer, and these are her key words that she wants to be known for. So you can see it repeated straight here: social media content marketer, right in the title, and storytelling is also in the headline. Okay. You can see this riddled in her about section as well. You go to experience section, you can see it as well. Her skill section, it's there as well. In her recommendations, it's also listed there. So the more times you repeat the keyword in a not pushy way, the better the results will be. Trust me, it makes a big difference in terms of how high your CV, your CV pull up, your LinkedIn profile will be pushed up. And when you're on the first page, of course, it's easier to search. It's the same way like, you do Google searches. If you guys are familiar with the concept of SEO, it's the same thing. So find keywords you want to be associated with, determine a few, and keep repeating in your profile. That is a big tip for you. And it's worked fantastically for Laura. It's worked a little bit well for myself because I keep changing industries. But there's a different way to do it, which I won't go too much into. But if any questions, drop it in the chat. I'll try to answer it for you. Okay? So there's also a trend of how people ask for jobs on LinkedIn. And I believe that's a good way and a bad way to do it. And I'm going to give you an example first. So what you don't want to do or you want to avoid first is writing something like this. Because first of all, high connection, it's bad grammar, please. You can download Grammarly or something. It helps you a lot. Greet people properly. This is just a post that he did. I'm looking for a job change. It doesn't tell me anything. There's no actionable information for me, right? Job change from what to what? Are you changing jobs, changing industries? What are you changing? I have 4.8 years experience with Laravel and CI. So these are coding languages. So you've experience with that, yeah, but what have you done? What projects have you done? What's the clients you worked with? What's the effect of your work? I have no idea what that is. So I don't know how to respond to this information, right? And you don't ever want to share your salary openly. Please do not do that. It'll come back to bite you in the butt. I promise you it will. My current salary is 44K and I'm expecting 50K. So a little tip about salary negotiations. Never let them know your cards. Okay. Your current salary is one thing. Never list down a specific expected salary that you might want to change later. Never publish it. It's not a good idea. Okay. So putting my money where my mouth is, this is my example. And this is what got me like the few gigs that I have now, and as well as that career transition from after I left Recruitling. So the context behind this is I was actually, I was jobless for the month during the MCO. After March, I was supposed to start a different venture that failed terribly because the capital requirement and it's a physical business. So I thought, as a recruiter, and I was busy applying for jobs and attracting jobs already. So I thought, like, okay, let's try to help more people write CVs. So I was doing like free CV writing for people who have been laid off as well, like myself, just help them out because I was well to do, but other people were suffering a bit more. So more than happy to, lend my time to that. And so I was writing a bit about that. And let me point you to the two red boxes here and why I crafted it that way. So on the left box, you see my attitude towards work and how I work together in a team. So life isn't a competition between people. I want to see people do well, regardless if they have anything to offer me. That's how I was raised. That's how I see my growth to become better version of who I was yesterday. So this was crafted in a way because I know who's in my connection list, and I know um, the way HRs will interpret this in terms of how it might translate into me behaving in the workplace culture. Something interesting to note. And great for family's healthy roof over my head. Yeah, why not? So just mentioning that was okay. I'm not desperate. That's why I want to come off here, right? You don't want to seem desperate when you're asking for a job. Trust me, it's not a good idea. Because if you're desperate, how good are you really, right? Number two, over here, I asked and I listed down specific fields that I was interested in looking to work into. So having said that, I'm open to new opportunities that are, if you're hiring for, let's say, recruitment, business development, marketing, content strategy, I'll be interested. So the way I ended it here was with something I would say a humble close. So I use words like let me know. So it's just letting them know that, again, it's choice of words and how you phrase things. Let me know I'll be interested to explore and have a chat to see if I can provide the help you need. So I'm not saying that I can or that I'm the best candidate or hard selling myself here. I'm just saying let's have a conversation first. Because giving me a job versus let's just have a chat and explore between what people feel more obligated to give you. If you're asking for a job, people are like, I can't do that. But if you're saying, can we just talk about it first? Yeah, sure, we can talk first. It's easier, right? If you're working experience, yeah, that's something to keep in mind as well. It's easier to ask for small things and let it lead to a big one if it leads there. Okay. So from this post, I was actually contacted by this connection of mine. So he actually found my number um, from some other connection of mine on LinkedIn and reached out to me on my WhatsApp. So Andrew Lau is actually the CEO of Think Codex. It's a training company as well. He's an excellent guy. And he mentioned, here, like, hope you're doing okay. How's things? I know you're not in recruitment anymore. By the way, I have a CEO friend who's looking for people. He runs self-driven employee engagement platform, and I think it might be a good fit because again, I mentioned personality, fields I was looking to work into. That's why he can act on it. Okay. So he asked me to forward you his contact and let him connect with you. And this was when I talked to him. So after going through it, went for an interview, had a Zoom call with him, and after a while, yeah, he made me an offer as a marketing strategist because looking at the past experience that I had, with ghostwriting that I was doing, based some PR work as well for the new venture that I had Recruit Link, and crafting out the employee engagement strategy, and I understand workplace culture well. He felt that yeah, I could potentially market this new product that he had. So I explored that, and yeah, I had a good contract position with them for about the next 3 months. So that was the first approach from this. But the main takeaway you should have from this experience, I would say, is that the whole time I did not even send over my CV. Okay, from start to end, I did not send my CV at all. All he did was check my LinkedIn profile after that, arrange for an interview. Okay. Do I need to send my CV? Don't need lah. I just send you a contract, you sign and get back to me. And another point for you guys, if you're looking for a job, you see how fast I sign the offer and give it back to them. That plays a big part also, okay? Because if you don't reply them fast, they're going to give it to the second person, and then that person is going to get a job. Okay? Keep that in mind. If they give you an offer and you like it, sign it, send it back quickly. Do not wait. We will skip you if you make us wait, okay? Recruiters are human too. Keep that in mind. This was another post that I wrote, talking a little bit about why they shouldn't change jobs. And long story short, I'm not going to go into the whole story. You can read it on my profile if you want to. I was contacted by this guy named Daniel. So he owns a recruitment agency, and he saw the work that I did for recruiting listed on my profile, and he's seen me write content on LinkedIn as well. So he understands the points that I stand for, the values I stand for. He thought, okay, we kind of aligned there. Maybe we can work something out. So went for an interview, but I didn't accept because reason being certain things about the way that they work did not sit well with me. So while they're a good company and I can see a lot of people doing well there, personally it wasn't what I wanted. So again, it all boils down to knowing what you want and standing by your values. Because when you do that, people respect you a lot more as a person and as a professional. And again, these people that you do not join their team, it's a small industry. You will meet again. It's good to leave a good impression. So never ghost people, never end things on a bad note. Be amicable, be polite, nicely reject them. after that. Okay, but again, don't burn bridges. It'll come back to bite you. Never burn bridges. So let me summarize the 5 points. Number one, have a good profile picture, banner, and headline. That's the first thing we see. Make a good first impression. Second part, write about your personality in your about section. What work you're looking to do, what's your interest, so on and so forth. Number three, list down skills, because then we know what you have experience with, what you might need training on, so on and so forth. And it's all about keywords at the end of the day, because your LinkedIn profile appears higher in searches when you repeat a word more, basically. All right. And of course, post content regularly, because having a good profile, you won't necessarily be found. But as you post more content, you talk about your point of view of things, you share a bit about, your experience that you have in your internships, events you attended, courses you attended, your classes as well, what you learned for the day, you can post it as well. Let people know that you are learning and you have that attitude, because that is the main determining factor for whether you're going to get hired or not as a fresh graduate. Seriously. Okay, so far, any questions? Again, drop it in the chat section. I'll try to address it soon. But I'm going to quickly blaze through the online interviewing tips, because I'm aware that I'm really stretching thin on time. So I'm going to jump right into it. Are you guys ready? If you are still with me through my rambling, just type in yes in the chat section so I know you're still with me. Because that's the thing about online events, like if I were talking live, I can see you guys, I can interact with you. But on platforms like this, I can't see everybody in one picture. So all right. Wow. Okay. So all of you are still with me. Great. Okay. So again, take notes. I'm gonna go quite fast, but it's something you want to take note of. So online interviews done right. This is not right, just so you guys know. Wear pants, please wear pants. Like I'm wearing pants right now. I can show you. See, I'm wearing pants, okay? It plays a big part, because I have seen, I have worked with a lot of HRs and a lot of interviewers and a lot of hiring managers as well. And whenever we handled online interviews in the past, part of what we do as well is, can you just stand up and do a jump for us? That's legit a question we ask, because we want to see whether you dress for the occasion or you half-assing the interview. Excuse the language. But yeah, so we have done it. Okay, so people do it. That's a thing. So be aware. Okay. Next I meet someone that was like an interviewer like me or my clients, for example, you might have to do that, and you don't want to be caught with your pants down, literally. Okay. Rule number one: wear pants and dress up properly for interviews. Just because you're home doesn't change anything. All right. So moving into the tips. First of all, for you to have a good interview, you need to set up well. So what's a good setup? Number one, make sure you have solid Wi-Fi connection. The way you can ensure that is, any other devices you have that is using Wi-Fi, turn it off for now for the interview. If you are living alone, if you're living with parents, try to minimize the number of devices that are on Wi-Fi, because that will affect your speed. So what I did for preparation of this talk, for example, was to off my Google Home. I turned my phone onto basically turn my phone onto using mobile data instead of Wi-Fi. Just make sure the stream is clear. That's one good tip. Make sure it's in a quiet room so there's no distractions. Use headphones and earphones, or earphones, either one that has a mic ideally, so that you can hear them clearly and they can hear you clearly. And if there's any passing buses or anything, then it doesn't affect your basically the mic, right? So make sure it's as clear as possible for you to hear them and for them to hear you. Test run all your devices. So go onto your devices early, make sure you can run everything. Your Zoom is working well, you can log in fast. Don't fiddle with your stuff during the interview, because that is very annoying. And number two, it'll throw you off your focus. So you're not focused during interview, you can't answer questions well, you're gonna, okay? So test your devices first. Dress up, yes, pants. All right, I can't emphasize this enough. Please wear pants. It makes a difference. Okay. Number two, because you are interviewing online, you can have your CV and job description in front of you, and your interviewer will not know. That is a good tip. Because if they're quoting certain parts of your CV, you can just look and you know where their eyes are following. You know where they are looking. That is a big tip, and it helps you get into their head as well. So you understand where they're coming from, and you have a better context of the questions they're asking. And also a job description, because they're going to ask you if you have read the job description or if you have understood it properly. So if you have, let's say, not read it, at least keep it there so you can quote a part of it and you don't look, like you didn't do your work, lah, huh? You didn't hear that from me. Pro tip, prepare a list of questions for your interviewer. So I can't stress this enough. Prepare for your interviews. Don't go in there and say like, I just wing it, I'll just naturally float. It doesn't happen that way. Prepare questions. So read the job description, read your CV, see where there's alignment, in terms of where your skill set is and where, you can match the job description and where you are lacking as well. Be very clear. So for example, if you have worked with, press releases before, in a certain format or certain style, for example, and that's what they're looking for there. But let's say you haven't used this software, you can use that as a question. But I understand in the job description, you listed down that, you ideally want someone that has experience with this software. I want to make it clear that I don't have this software. So will this be trained during my time with you guys? For example, do I have access to training? Do I have access to learning this? It leaves a very good impression that you have prepared well and you are focused on getting this job. It's a big, big part of it. I can't stress that enough. All right. Prepare a list of questions for your interviewer. Oh, that's the question. I'll get to that in a little bit. Let me just speed through this. Number 2, etiquette. So again, because it's online, sometimes if you are one of those people who are looking for work overseas, for example, and you're going to work from home first, greet them according to their time zone. Take note of that. So where your interviewer is staying, make sure you know. Let's say they say, oh, the manager is in Glasgow, for example. Look up the time zone there, greet them. If it's morning and you are night, doesn't matter. Good morning, how are you? Greet them in your time zone. It makes a big difference in how you build rapport. Okay? Do not look away from the screen. So for example, if you have distractions, that's why rule number 1 is being in a quiet room, right? Because you look away, you have distractions, car passing by, your siblings are kacauing you, your parents are calling you, things like that. Don't look away from the screen. If anything that's urgent, just say, I'm so sorry, can I just take a minute, off your camera and then walk away. But never look away first. Ask for permission before you leave. Again, this is like a face-to-face. You don't just walk away or you don't just turn away. It's rude. All right. Number 3, always gesture before you ask questions. Because now with online interviewing, only one voice can be heard at a time, right? If you're talking with each other, it's hard to communicate at all. So a good way to gesture is, just raise a hand like this, so that at least they're like, oh, maybe he has a question, or, just pause the person, like, just, signal to them somehow that you want to ask a question, and they might pick up on it when they're done talking. Then they'll ask you, oh, sorry, do you have a question? Then you can ask your question. But try your best not to interrupt the person, all right? Always gesture before you ask or interrupt them. And number 3, oh yes, of course, this is actually the same for offline and online interviews. Build rapport with small talk first. So, things like, have you had your lunch? Was it a stress day? Like, oh, you look like you just came from a meeting or something. Open up with something, talk to them first. Because when you build that rapport with them, you are more relaxed as well. And you'll perform better when you are not nervous. But if you just jump right into the interview, trust me, you'll feel that nervousness and you're going to break down when they ask you some of the questions that you don't know. Right? So build that rapport, get friendly with them. Again, you're evaluating your future boss. You're going to have to talk to each other as friends at one point. So might as well start now. Try to be friendly. Of course, maintain that sort of professional tone, but say, sorry, have you had your lunch? Is it early there? Yeah, you look like if you had a stressful day, something, talk to them first. Build that rapport. And before an interview ends, again, ask questions. I get asked this a lot, from fresh graduates. Can you ask questions during interview? What should I ask? Yes, you can ask questions, and here are some things you can ask about. So if you're talking to, let's say, the HR or your future boss, right, your future manager, what's the culture of the team like? Is a good question to ask, because then you like, how do you guys work? What's your management style like? So how do you like to manage people, and how would you like me to work with you as a downline? Because most of the time your manager, they're not going to keep an eye on everything you do. So some managers would like you to remind them about things constantly. Some of them would just, say like, we agree on a timeline, we don't talk to each other, you work a certain way. So management style is something that's good to ask for you and for them as well, because they understand that you understand them, number 1. And number 2, you understand how to manage your manager. That is a big, big part of whether you're going to love your job or hate your job. Trust me. Also, learning opportunities. Remember when I said about the first one about preparing a list of questions for interviewer? Are we going to learn this? Are we going to learn that? It's important to know. And it's important for you to be able to gauge whether you're or not, right? Of course, ask how you did for an interview so you can improve. If you are sure that this interview you blotched already, like, maybe not going to get it, ask them, like, all right, so how do you think I did during an interview? Is there anything that I can improve on? Because at least shows that you're humble and you're willing to learn. So even if they weren't considering you first for the job, they might reconsider based on your attitude. Again, attitude is what sells the most. Not really. You can blotch the interview, but if you're willing to learn and you can show that you're willing to learn fast, yeah, it makes a big difference. Always take notes. Yeah, and a pro tip, never give an absolute least number for salary. Okay, if I'm gonna leave you guys with one excellent tip for making sure you start your salary right, because that sets the tone for salaries you get throughout your career later. Never give the HR an absolute least number. Let's say like you're filling up a form for application form for interview, right? You have to list down your expected salary. So at that section, you write a number. Let's say you're writing like 3,000 lah, all right? You're writing 3,000. Then during the interview, they're gonna ask you again, by the way, what's your expected salary? All you have to say is 3,000. Just 3,000 ringgit. Don't say anything else. Don't try and justify it. This is negotiation. So mention 3,000. They ask, okay, but what's your absolute least? What if let's say we can't do 3,000, can you do 2,008, for example? Don't say yes or maybe. Just tell them this. Ideally, I would like to make 3,000, but assuming that's not possible, I'm willing to renegotiate. But never give them a number, because the more you give HR a number and you say you're okay for 2008, what's going to appear on your offer letter is 2008, not 3,000 anymore. And the way you try to argue to get back your 3,000 later, not going to happen. That's what HRs do. Okay, so again, you didn't hear that from me, but keep that in mind. It's a big part of it. Which finally brings me to the end of my talk. So hopefully you guys learned something useful. And now I'm going to take questions. So Yvonne, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And I'm just going to, again, I'm just going to be on camera now. So at least, I'm able to see everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Tyler. It is very insightful. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, can.
I hear echo. Okay, I'm sure that the students have learned a lot. Now, questions are open to the floor. So you guys have any question, please leave a comment in the chat box, or you can turn on your webcam and ask away.
Yeah, I think there was some questions earlier, right? You guys managed to record that down?
Yeah. First question that was asked from Tong Litban. He asked, what types of question do company ask to gauge or test the similar values shared between the potential employee and the company?
I see. Okay, I think he submitted he or she submitted that question in the registration form as well. I took note of that. First of all, you have lit in your name. That's so cool. But yeah, why, what are the typical questions people would ask, right? When they ask, why should I hire you? Now, that is a question that you can answer in different ways. So I'll base it on your personality. If you are the type that's very strong, like you project yourself very strongly, be firm. So you say, because, I am, number one, willing to learn. I will learn fast. In the past, you've seen my past experience, in university or whatnot. I have handled situations like this before. I do not crack under pressure, and I think I'll add value to your team. So you can answer very confidently. If you want to go the more humble route, another good way to answer is, why should you hire me? Honestly speaking, if you look on paper, I'm just like another graduate. I don't have working experience like every other graduate. But the only reason you would hire me is because I can add something else to your company that probably other candidates cannot. Now, I do not know what my competition is like. I do not know what they can bring to the table. But what I am sure about myself is I'll be able to be a good team player. I work well with people. I do not fight with my colleagues. And as a manager, I promise like I will work hard for you. If you hire me, I'll work hard for you. That's it. So it can be a more humble way, or you can be confident, depending on your style. If you know you're the type that's not very, you don't like being bold or you don't like over promising things, go the more humble route. Either way works.
Oh, okay. So moving on, he asked, when you were interviewed, how did you answer, why should we hire you?
Oh, sorry, that was the one. What's the early question? Sorry.
Oh,
I
the
just
early
answered.
question. Yeah, the earlier question is what type of questions do company ask to gauge or test the similar values shared between the potential employee and the company?
Okay. First thing they'll ask you is, what do you know about our company? Okay, and that is literally a question that will test whether you prepare for interview or not. So before, again, I wrote a post about this quite not too long ago, but it's about things you should prepare for an interview, you know, the day before at least. And one of it happens to be reading the company's page, their career page or their values page, things like that, because they will test you on it. Like, what do you know about our company? Do you know what we do? What industries we have? What's the structure of the business look like? They want to see how much research you've done on the company. So to segue into your question, if you know what business they are in, you know, whether it's people-based, FMCG, what size they are, MNC, small company, the way they write and communicate their culture on the career page, for example, if they see more fun and bubbly versus formal and strict, mimic that tone. So they would state in their career page, you know, like what sort of culture they have, what values they carry in the culture. Like we value diversity, we value, you know, a family-based culture. We're a very close-knit team, things like that. So say, no, I read on your career page, I read on, you know, the company's mission page, for example, that you guys are aligned with, let's say reducing the harm of tobacco on the environment and on people. And you know, personally, I align with that because of this and this and this. Give them a reason. Okay, so when you ask specifically about culture, they are testing to see not really about your personal values per se, but how you align with the company's mission, vision, and with the culture. So that's how HR will gauge whether you're a good fit or not. So I hope that answers your question. If not, yeah, just ask a follow-up question. I'll try to be more precise about it. But yeah,
Okay.
let's move on to other questions first.
The other question is from Mark. He asks, is it necessary to wear a tie during the interview session or just blazer is enough since we are going into creative industry, not so formal?
Creative industry. Okay. This is where it's a little bit gray, I would say. So again, a good idea is look at the career pages. You know, for example, their social media. Most of them will have a career page on, let's say, Instagram or on LinkedIn, for example. So look at their attire. On a regular day, what are they wearing? That's a good gauge. But I'll say don't go, you know, too casual. No, try not to go with jeans or something. At least with some formality for the occasion, you know, even though it's a creative industry, because you know I used to hire for IT, and a lot of IT companies is super casual. Like the boss, you know, the manager when I went there for a meeting, wore like shorts and a t-shirt, and his hair wasn't even like made at all. It was just like, you know, messy hair. So again, some cultures are very relaxed, but during an interview they will still dress up. So the good idea to approach this is you want to be more dressed than they would be typically. So I'll say at least shirt, slacks, and a tie. That's a good way to go. Suiting up, maybe not the blazer. You know, that might be a bit overkill for some cultures. But if you're going for MNC, even though it's a creative industry or sorry, creative department within an MNC, blazer up. Like really, you need to be full formal for that because MNCs they carry a certain air of formality that is uniform across all MNCs. So suit up as best as you can for MNCs. Startups, depending, but you can always ask the HR, the person that's reaching out for you to do the interview, ask them like, what is the polite way to dress? I don't want to come overdressed, for example. You can just be very honest with them. I don't want to come overdressed and look weird in the office and make you guys feel weird as well. So what would be a good attire? You can ask. Always ask. Don't be afraid to ask.
Okay, so our group has prepared some questions as well. So
Sure.
what do employers look for when they employ fresh graduates?
Okay, I think I answered that partly in the top. So it's again mainly attitude, I would say, and specifically to how the hiring climate has changed from pre-COVID until now. I see this remaining as a trend. You know, even other recruiters in the association that I'm working with as well, we do agree that the trend will probably carry on until the end of next year. Meaning the focus of the hiring will be still very much into that line of thinking, where they're going to focus on your base skills. That has to be solid. You have a solid base for them to train you on. They're not going to, in a sense, waste their time with people who do not invest in making sure they have a solid base before they apply for a job, you have to handle a lot of pressure. They want to see how you handle pressure. So now the tone has changed. Last time companies would be like, oh no, very chill culture and all that. No, now they're going to tell you straight up, we're facing this. We have just hired 3 people and you are one person we're hiring that is replacing 3 people. So you're going to have to do 3 person's job as a fresh graduate. Can you handle it? They're going to be very straightforward with you, and you might be shocked. That's why I want to shock you now so that you don't get shocked later. They're going to be very harsh with you in terms of how they set expectations. So be ready for that. And again, all boils down to attitude. Can you handle the pressure? Can you work well with the team? Can you handle difficult situations? Can you handle the politics, right, of working well with a team? If you can, you have a better chance than most other people would.
Okay, thank you, Tyler, for answering.
Sure.
And one more question is, how do we shift ourselves from the graduate life into the job scenario? As in, what are some things to consider when picking up our first job?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
How do we shift ourselves from the graduate life into the job scenario? As in, what are some things to consider when picking up our first job? Picking our first job.
Right. Okay. So I'm a big advocate of choosing a job and a place to work that aligns with your personal values. Because honestly, you'll perform way better and it'll do heaps of effort better for your career if you go to where you are appreciated. So a good way to consider it is this, as a student, you studied certain fields, you study the theory, you study maybe some practical skills. So I'm aware that, like Taylor's, for example, they're good universities. So they have a way of teaching you guys, practical skills through internships and all that, somewhat for the workplace. But a way to prepare yourself for working life, I would say, is to understand that, first of all, there's always going to be company politics. In every company, it can be a 5-man team, it can be a 100-man team, same thing. There's going to be politics. So you have to have the mindset that wherever you go, you're going to have to face politics, no matter what they say. Um, Number two, in terms of working well with people, you have to understand that in order to have an effective team, they need to be diverse and they need to disagree a lot. Because only then do you cover as many angles as you can, and only then can you be effective as a team. You have to have a lot of push. So it's going to be rough at times. Do not take work personally. Like the things you say to each other during meetings can be mean, can be nasty sometimes. You do have a lot of heated discussions, but don't take it personally because again, it's all about work. At the end of the day, just walk it off later. All right.
Mm.
Another thing about workplace life, I'll say, is that it's going to be a long-term thing. It's not like studies you've done after 3 years. You're going to keep studying, you're going to keep learning on the job. And every single day, the workplace evolves a bit differently. The industry changes differently. You need to evolve with it. So don't stop learning. It doesn't end. Your career doesn't end until like you basically pass away. So, keep working, keep learning, keep growing. That's the mindset you should have moving into the workplace. Keep an open mind.
Okay, so one more question from Arthur. What do you think is the good format for a CV?
Okay, good format for the CV. I'm glad you asked that. So a lot of times you see people, focusing a lot on one-page CVs, like it should be with those, health bars for your skills or like the number of dots for your skills indicate your if proficiency with it. None of us care about that, to be honest with you. Recruiters or HRs, none of us look into that. Hiring managers don't read that as well because to us that this doesn't tell us anything. A good idea is keep it plain. So again, when you submit your CV, they're going to pass it through an ATS. And if you have like designs and all that, no one's going to appreciate it. So you don't have to be too worked up into it. But if you're, let's say, in advertising or in PR, for example, right? If you've done any freelance work, you've done like things in your internships, little projects, for example, compile it into a portfolio, put the link of the portfolio in your CV and list it as a section. This is my portfolio. You can see my works here, right? And in your experience, talk about those projects. A good format for that section would be title of the project, who was involved, what was the work that you did, what is the outcome of your work. Always state the achievement or the end outcome for your work. If you don't show that you have any impact for your work, then what have you done, right? You can tell them that the things that you do, but again, so when you're talking to, let's say, like clients, or you're talking to your hiring manager, who is your client in that sense, they need to buy the idea that you can do effective work. Only way to show that is with results. Results talk in the workplace. Like you can work 15 hours, no results, doesn't matter, right? So follow that. Of CV structure, I actually have a general format I can share with you guys if you want. That's the one I use for my own CV as well, so you're welcome to have it. You start with personal details, go to your about or your personal statement, so opening statement about yourself. Always rewrite that for every different job. Do not send the same CV to 15 jobs. We can spot it when someone's being lazy and we don't like it. So make sure you tailor that personal statement to the values listed in the job description. Pro tip. Experience section as well. Always rewrite your CV based on each job. Look at the job description, try to match words. Makes a big difference. Okay, so it shows at least you've read it and you've done the work to show that you have experience. And we pick up those profiles very quickly. So that extra effort you put in matters. Skills-wise, just a list will do. Languages, list your languages and your proficiency with each language. That's enough as well. References, you don't have to write them down. You can say available upon request. Yeah, just if you want to protect, phone numbers and stuff. Yeah, good way to do that. So yeah, hope that answers your question. But if you guys want the format, yeah, just let me know. I'm happy to just share it with you guys as well.
Okay, thank you. One more question from Janice.
Oh, Janice.
Yeah. As we will be applying internship for multiple company, how do we inform the employer if they have offered you a job, but we are waiting for other companies to reply to? Following that, if there are more than one company offered you a job, how should we respond to each employer to let them know we are still in the midst of deciding or rejecting them?
Very good question, and clearly someone who has been in the situation. Okay, I like that question. So, all right, this is complex. You have to be diplomatic about it because you don't offend anyone. Like I said, don't burn bridges, right? So sometimes rejecting people is always hard, right? So you have to do it in a nice way. Yeah, laughing face. I'm laughing with you too. So, all right, let me address the first scenario. So, apply for multiple positions in a company. How to inform an employee if we've offered you a job, but we have waiting for other companies to reply. So, if they've offered you a job, number one, you don't want to tell them that they're not your first priority. That's a bad idea. Even though they aren't, you can't tell them that. I would say you should start by saying, thank you very much for the offer. This is exciting. But I just need a couple of days to consider because give them a reason. Like it could be a legitimate, always make sure it's a legitimate reason. Don't try and make it sound like an excuse. So a legitimate reason will be, I need to consider, the logistics of getting to and from the office because I don't have a car, for example. If you don't, you have a car, good. Like say, I just want to make sure I think about a commute and I'm just give me a day or two to reply to your offer. Right? So that's the polite rate. Typically offer work, they might write an expiry date, but for internships, usually it's not the case. It usually lasts like, 2 or 3 days is polite. So I just need to finish up the process with, other companies because I don't want to ghost them. So phrase it in a way that you're sounding responsible, all right? Which you are being responsible by finishing the process. So say, look, I've already promised to meet these companies here on this date for the interviews. Do you mind if I just finish out the process? Just give me 2 days. I'll reply you after that. Is that okay? Again, ask, but don't sound like, I'm actually waiting for other companies. You mentioned waiting for other companies, then the thought that they'll have is, so meaning that we are not your first choice. You're actually waiting for your first choice, is it? And then you have that hard conversation of trying to answer that question. Just mentioned you have already pre-arranged interviews and you would like to finish the process because you want to be polite, right? You want to be respectful that they've given you the opportunity as well, and you want to recognize that. So be diplomatic, sound sincere, you get away, all right? Second scenario, following after that, more than one company offered you a job. How should you respond to the employer? Let them know we are still in the midst of deciding or rejecting them. So if you are still deciding, be upfront. Let them know you have another offer on the table. So this again, like you didn't hear it from me, but if you want to negotiate on salary, this is a smart way to do it. Companies, if they like good talent and you have got 3 or 4 offers on hand, right? This is, if you're that good, then great for you. You have got more options to choose from. Let them know you've got an offer on the table. And if let's say the salary the offering is more, that's why you're considering. Let them know your legitimate reasons for why you cannot make a decision about them yet, what you're uncomfortable with. Give them a chance to talk to you about it, right? So don't try to, hold back, because when you have that open communication, maybe they can do something to, you know, to bend the rules a little bit to make you more comfortable, or to address that concern that you have, something like that, it's always a good idea. So yeah, I would say start by talking about what you feel uncomfortable with, or what you like better about a different offer you got. So you say like, look, honestly, it's a great offer. I appreciate the fact that you guys see the potential in me to hire me as part of your team. I really do appreciate it. However, I actually have, another offer on hand. I want to be honest with you. I have another offer on hand, and they're willing to pay me, like 300 more a month than you. So I do love your company's culture. I do love, the manager. I think you guys are great. But honestly speaking, finances are tight. Therefore, the extra 300 does make a difference for me. So I still need to consider my options. Could you give me another day, please? See, so very polite, and no one's going to be offended by that, because you're letting them know the very true reason for why you're uncomfortable, and therefore they're more willing to listen to you, right? Versus like, this company is paying me more, so actually you guys can pay 300 more. No, you're going to offend everybody, all right? So don't do that. Again, just be very honest about where you're coming from. And like I said, interviews are a two-way process. It's a two-way evaluation. You are evaluating the company, they are evaluating you, and both parties have to be comfortable with each other in order for it to be a successful hire. All right? Always approach it with that mindset. So treat it like you were like a relationship for that sense. You have to be honest with your partner, right? You cannot lie to them about certain things. You have to be honest with where you're uncomfortable, so that you can talk about it, you can add the issue, and it can be resolved. And if they can't resolve it, they'll say, the HR will just reply and say, okay, honestly speaking, it does sound like a better offer. It's a pity that you can't join us, but we wish you all the best. That's basically the reply you get. So if you want to reject them, all you need to say is very similar to what I just put forward. Yeah, again, this has been a great offer. I really do enjoy, the culture they have. No doubt you guys are a fantastic company to join. I'll definitely recommend it to my friends. However, I have to choose another option because this is this. For example, you could say like, I have one candidate, she rejected the company because it was basically just too far. Like she had to travel like maybe 2 hours to work every day. So to and fro work is 4 hours. And to consider that for the jam and all that, it's crazy. So she said like, while it's fantastic, you guys are willing to make the exception for me to come to work a bit late and all that, it is going to take a toll, and I don't see myself being able to travel like that, on the long term. So therefore, I have to go with this other company because it's nearer, and it will be a much better, a more manageable life. So she said it that way, and that is perfectly understandable because you have your own limits, for things that you have tolerance with. Everyone's different. Let them know what your concern is so that you can talk about it. But always be honest. Like a lot of people are trying to, okay, this is my personal pet peeve. A lot of people are trying to tell people to lie during interviews, like you tell them a different reason, give them an excuse. Don't. Have honest discussions, because that is what, enabled me to basically continue my career as fast as I did and as fast as I did. And if I rub people the wrong way like that, within the industry, people will hear about it. It's not a good thing for your personal brand, by the way. So don't lie, be honest. As long as you are always truthful, people will respect you, whatever your stance is. Okay, they may disagree, but they'll respect it. I hope that answers your question, Janice.
Yeah, thank you, Tyler. So, like, due to the time limit, so
Sure.
I think it is all very insightful, and I have learned a lot, and I'm sure that the students have learned a lot as well. So, I think we have come to the end. So, is it all right for everyone to open up the webcam so we can have a group photo? Yeah. Hi, everyone. Are you still there? I hope you're there. There's still Hi guys. And then before after we take a group photo, I will share a presentation slide which includes the feedback forms and the QR code. You guys can scan the QR code and fill up the feedback form so we can know how we can, to be more modified in the future. Yeah. So can you guys open up your cam so we can take a picture for our group photo? Yeah, and feel free to connect to Tyler's LinkedIn. Yeah, Tyler already sent at the chat box there. So guys, yeah. Okay. So anyone wants to like open up the cam so we can have a group photo? Thank you so much.
Yeah, we can't meet face to face so often nowadays, right? So the least we could do is on camera with each other, like it's kind of face to face, right?
Yeah. And then there's a few speech like Dr. Izzuddin wants to like
Oh,
have after the group photo. Yes.
sure.
So I'll take the group photo first. So hold on for 3 seconds. So there will be going now. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so like due to the Wi-Fi, like we need to hold on for 3 seconds. Yeah. So thank you so much again to Tyler. Yeah. Hi, Dr. Izzuddin. Do you want to unmute your mic?
Hi, thank you so much, Tyler, for spending your time with me. I mean, it is very insightful session, I would say. Listening it from another recruiter, I was doing recruitment before as well, and like listening it from you is basically bringing me back to that memories of doing all of this recruitment thing. And I feel glad that you tell them. I mean, like all of the informations, like and share with them all of the informations, and I think a lot of them is very very beneficial for them, and I wish that we can talk more, but I know due to the time constraint I would understand that. I mean, like there's a lot more for the students, I guess, to learn when we talk about video, for example, like a video presentation of them, because I think that is now a new trend in HR. Because previously we talked about with another recruitment agency, like I was talking with another recruitment agency, they said like nowadays they put emphasization as well in terms for the video presentation. I mean, like when they look into LinkedIn, if someone have a video, then it will be a bit more convincing for them and persuasive. So high tendency for them to increase the visibility on their LinkedIn profile. And then, like, of course, especially when we talk about the creative industry, it will show how creative that person is. And I mean, like, it's kind of a filtering. You will filter them first right before you calling them in for interviews and looking into their resumes. And you also mentioned just now about the resumes, like how we look into the resumes for 3 seconds and whether or not it is important. And I was like, I remembered that, like, okay, we do have a way to look at the resumes. Okay, so anyway, thank you so much for spending your time with us. Hope to have more session with you in the future. So yeah, pretty much have a good day then.
Right. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you everyone, great job.
Right,
Yeah,
just
thank
want
you
to
so
say a word,
much.
the team did a fantastic job, promoting. I'm like, I thought, just 2 days, like, whoa, there's so many people in the in the list. I'm like, wow, okay, that's impressive. So yeah, fantastic job, ladies.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, like, I would like to share my screen right now for the QR code and feedback form. So you guys can scan the QR code here. Yeah, my team will like share the link at the chat box. Wait a minute, hold on, yeah. Thank you so much. So guys, feel free to scan the QR code and fill up the feedback form so we can know what you're thinking about. And yeah. Yeah, and basically we are already end now. So after you fill up the forms, you may leave now. And I hope you enjoy the talk. Thank you so much for your time, guys. Our team really appreciate it.
All right, bye everyone. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you, Tyler. Thank you again so much.
Thank you so much,
Most
Tyler, for your time and effort. And I'm sure
Yeah.
all of us, like, the feedback has been amazing. Like, everyone asked questions, the sentiment was the same. Kudos to you, Tyler. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Yeah, all the best in your career, guys. Again, any questions, yeah, drop it to me. But I apologize if I'm slow in responding. I try my best to address everyone, but time constraints. But I'll try to get your questions if you have any. All right. Cheers. Take care, guys.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay, Tyler. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you guys for participating.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello,
Yeah.
guys.
Hi, guy. Hi,
Hi.
sir.
Hi.
Okay, everyone is out, right? I think.
Wait. Let's
Yeah.
kick the ones that we don't know.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
I can end the recording now. Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
End the link.
Is it okay, Dr. Izzuddin?
Wait. Is everyone out already?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
Oh,
think
okay.
hang on,
left
let me double
us.
check.
Hi,
Okay.
Yeah,
sir.
let's double check.
Hi.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
yeah. It's just a team.
Hi.
Yeah, it just was.
Yeah.
How to stop the recording? Okay.
So it's still recording though.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like, how am I gonna stop this recording? Reimagine.
Oh,
Show device setting, turn off recording. Okay. I think it will end when I end it. All right. So anyway, guys, I think this is my personal view. Okay. Before that, I want to ask, like, what do you guys think about the session?
I think my introduction part a bit like maybe already like too long didn't host an event, so I a bit this is my first event, virtual event. So yeah, I apologize to my team. Like maybe I'm not doing that well. So
How about, okay? Is anyone else? What do you feel about the organization? Is there anything you think you can improve, or is there anything you feel like you want to work on in the future events?
Bit nervous.
Sorry.
Yeah. I was a bit nervous
Oh,
when
okay.
yeah, and then after I asked the question, I didn't know that the answer the another question. And then I asked again.
Mm.
So yeah.
Oh, okay. Alright, okay. And then direct. Anyone else?
I think overall it went quite smoothly. The questions, like, we didn't expect the response from people where, like, everyone, not everyone, but there were more questions than we expected, because we did prepare a few questions just in case it was stale and no one interacted. But overall, aside from that, the talk went really well. It's just a bit on the time management. We need to work on that lah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think the only problem was that I think it just went on a bit longer than we expected. But that's also due to the questions and Tyler's presentation, which was I think was still great nonetheless. Yeah.
okay. Nico?
I have so many thoughts and feelings. I don't know which one to tell.
Okay. I mean,
I
like,
think.
always tell the
Uh-huh.
good thing first before you go into like what you can improve. You know, like
Okay.
that's how you go.
So the good thing was that I think Tyler's insights was pretty amazing. It was pretty spot on. Everybody really enjoyed it, and I felt like as fresh grads, I really truly I see a value in all his sharings.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's a good thing.
Okay. How about things to improve?
Does anyone want to go first?
No, they already mentioned there. Like I think just now about time management, and then about handling the event, and then some are nervous. So how about you personally? Like, what do you think?
I think we would be better if we work well together, um, because I felt like there are certain people who do not weigh in much as the others.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's like my general feeling towards this.
Okay, right. Okay, I can understand from there. All right. Yeah, Evan, you have anything to say?
Sorry, sir, what was your question again?
The question is, how do you think about the event? Like, is there anything for you to improve? Um, if you want to share something good thing first before you say that, or you want to go straight into it, it's fine. I just want.
I think overall it was good because like there were a lot of important points which I find really helpful when it comes to updating my LinkedIn. Yeah, so I actually took down a lot of notes from him. Yeah, which I find is really helpful. Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, so this is my opinion about the webinars. Well, first and foremost, you guys need to cheer up. I think like relax, chill. I think like you guys did a great job for me, right? So whatever happened behind the background or whatever, no, I don't see it as an audience tomorrow yet today. As what I see, how it goes smoothly. No matter whether there's an anchor in it, like a person who handle this and bring this together, or like of you guys doing it together. But from my perspective as an audience, it's an excellent webinar. It's a good one.
Mm.
Tyler was early, and then you got to do your rehearsal. Perhaps maybe some of you may be a bit nervous because this is the first time that you handle this kind of webinars, but it's fine. You get the time to practice first. You get to go into your presentation slides. I'm quite impressed in terms of the time management. I mean, okay, you need to expect when you do this kind of thing, you would not be always on time. There will always be an extended time. So
Yeah.
why I only said for 1 hour, then I know it was gonna drag into 1.5 hours. If I say 2 hours, it's gonna be 2.5 hours or 3 hours drag. So and we should be thankful enough to Tyler because like Tyler is willing to spend more than
Yeah.
the time allocated for him, which is 1 hour because people are busy and we need to understand that. That's why even before this I said 5 questions the most. 3 questions is literally something that you really want to ask because that's the way he will develop an answer and it would take time in answering, especially when he want to go detail and talk like just now, right? Um, for me, it was a great job. I mean, there's no reason for you to feel bad about it, but of course, there will be things that you will need to improve. Like so maybe in terms of teamwork and whatever not. That one so far I didn't see any during the webinars, so it's something that you need to work internally with each other, right? But you're done with it and you did a good job. Um, and then my simple thought is, and thank God to Sir Philip because he bring a lot of students. Uh,
Yeah.
that you guys
All
were
thanks to
nervous
Wei
about
Ching.
yesterday,
All
right?
thanks to Wei Ching. Yeah. Thanks to Wei Ching.
Yeah, cause actually, I'm always keep in touch with Mr. Philip, and then I just realized that like yesterday I feel very very nervous. Like we just have 36 or 38 participants, and then I just messaged him like, Mr. Philip, do you want to help me to graduate? I mean like.
to participate. Okay, all right. Oh, that's why. Okay,
And then I'm like, oh my god, this is my final semester. Like this is like that like final assignment, and then he's like, oh my god, okay. I think I at first I was like thinking like Mr. Philip only will help me to promote on Facebook, but he yesterday texted me like, oh, I'll bring the whole class here, and then I text cause like yesterday I have a meeting with Nico. I'm like, oh my god, Nico, I think we have no problem with the participant today.
Because actually I posted on the staff WhatsApp as well,
Yeah.
but only Dr. Z replied saying
Yeah,
that she will attend, and then the rest was all quiet. And then I was like, okay, but I know Mr. Philip is always helpful and participating.
Supportive.
Yeah, supportive.
Yeah.
And even if we don't invite him today, if suddenly he decided to turn out with his student, it's something that is expected. I'm not really scared about that. But because of your effort, he literally make the effort to come in. I think that's great. I mean, like, and I was shocked. Like, okay, now we have a lot of numbers of participants, you know. And I think as well, it will be beneficial not only for our students, because Tyler is talking about it in a general terms, you know,
Yeah.
in of recruitment. So I think it's also good for the PR student as well. So yeah, I think overall, it seemed fine to me. Write the report. Okay, of course, in the report you need to write down like what can be improved. But at least you learn something from these webinars, which is on how to handle and manage these kind of webinars and seminars and kind of stuff, right? Because part of being a communication employees, you want to be in the communication department. This is expected almost every week, every day. Sometimes it depends on which company and what event that you want to entertain, you know. And this is considered like the very basic skills that I want you to learn, because that's why I'm organizing this basically. Because if you go to big companies, like when I was in Bank Negara, their webinars is even more headache. Is not only organizing, you have to make sure everything is in proper, the names of the important people need to be mentioned in how many ways, even to the extent if it is a physical seminar, the location of pen and how straight it is, you need to check. The location of paper and how aligned it is, you need to check. You know, like I remember I was scolded for putting the pen on the right side. I think it's supposed to be on the no, putting the pen on the left side where it's supposed to be on the right side. I mean, like they have way of arranging that. I think etiquette wise, we didn't really learn that. I'm not sure whether you have learned it in any part of your modules, but I don't think so. But it's something that you need to go over when you work, but it's something that you can learn. But at least you get a basic idea how to handle it, a very simple one, but you did a good job. Okay, right.
Thank you, sir. So basically, we are done with our whole assignments, right?
Sorry.
So basically, we have done with all
Yes,
our
yes.
assignments, right?
Just the
Wow.
report for this one.
Yay!
Me, then you're done. Okay.
Yeah, and
So,
also the feedback form.
we have one more assignment interview. Remember?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
assignment one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interview only lah, not hard with me.
When will that be, sir? I
Huh?
just wanna. When will that be?
It's supposed to be in week 13 and week 14, but
Okay.
because group 1 just contacted me apparently, then they want to organize the webinars somewhere in week 13. I mean, like they want to organize the webinars and we don't have time. I said, like, unless you do it in week 13. So that week 14, we might take the whole day I might take the whole day from morning to evening to interview you guys. So I would just give you the arrangement of name. So who go first, who goes next, who go next, and at random. So about to your time, you need to get prepared. But you also need to expect that there might be a delay sometimes because it's an interview session. Sometimes not a lot I like to deal, but sometimes I just want to know how much you know and prepare for it. So sometimes it might take a bit longer expected. So yours will be dragged a bit, right?
Yeah, so just to like remind you, we are not group 1, we are group 2.
Group 2.
I know. I mean, like group one. There. Remember last week when I asked about like where's group one? Nobody answered in the
nobody
class.
asked.
Yeah, they replied to me after that, and then I said I asked them like what happened, and then they said like we none of my members are attending because we had some issues. Okay, I said like okay. So in that case, like when they asked me when can they organize a webinars, I said the only time is week 13 lah. What other choice we have? Next week is 2 webinars already. The next week is 1 more webinars. So the last week is the only time where I can do the interview. Do you guys still have exam? You guys still have examination, right? Final exam or modules? Yeah. So I don't want to disturb your examination time to do the interview. It's supposed to be done by week 14 itself. So week 14, the whole day we're going to do the interview, right? Okay. So I might also decide on doing a group interview. So group interview is way more interesting because it will be like 5 of you. That's what sometimes what I do, 5 of you or 4 of you. So you are actually competing with each other, and normally I will tell directly like who's going to get the job, who's not going to get the job, and then the comment on why that person get a job and why the person didn't get the job. Normally the benchmark that I would put is if you are getting 70 and above, then you will get a job. If you get 50 and 70 and below, you didn't get a job. And that's how we deal in the real life anyway. Like we will filter those who are 70 and above. We will send to the clients, like recruitment, send to the clients, and then the clients will decide, because we confident if let's say it's 70 and above, mostly high chances for them to be hired. So we will see on last day if let's say I'm going to do like 4. Yeah, I can put 4 frames here. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So we're going to do group. Okay. If let's say it's necessary lah. But I like to do individual because individual I can get more out of you, and I can tell you what you're prepared with, what you're not prepared with. There will be 5 questions. Normally I will ask. The basic is 5, but it might have probing question. It something related about yourself, something related to about your skills to work as a team or teamwork. It will be something that is related to your understanding of the industry. It will be something that is related to critical thinking. And we have the last one, which the question that students always scared. It's called a trap question. A trap question. Trap question, TRAP. So this kind of question is something that you answer it wrongly, it will determine whether or not we will accept. The rest people will be like, okay lah, can consider, you know, like because you might not have experience. So if I ask you something about the industry, you might know, you might not know. And based on whatever that you know, we will decide how many percent you think you know about the industry, right? But if let's say we talk about your perception, if we talk about the trap question, it's normally something that is okay. Like this might be the last draw, whether or not I'm going to hire you. You know. So one more thing, all of you from advertising, isn't it? Some
Alisha, I think
general.
I'm from broadcasting, sir.
Broadcasting. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Right. Then that's why I like to do individual, because normally if let's say it's all advertising, then I would do group, simpler, because like I can ask about the industry, but I can ask the industry in general still. We'll see how. We'll see how.
yeah, like will the trap question be like what is your strength and what is your weakness?
No. No,
I think
it's
that's like
more like that
basic.
lah.
That's yourself.
I can't reveal it to you, then it will be easy. Like there are a few questions that we call it a trap, but it's something that when you wrongly answered, and sometimes if I'm not being tricky with student yet, but sometimes if the HR person is being tricky, they will not ask in sequence. They will ask somewhere in the middle of the conversation. They would suddenly ask. And then like you didn't realize, and then you like get carried away answering it, and then suddenly like, did I just answer the wrong thing? So that's one thing that you might want to consider. Okay, right. So whatever it is, have a good rest. You did a good job. Don't be so hard on yourself. But whatever internal issues that you want to discuss, I think it's better to discuss now so that everyone is feel really good, right? So thank you so much, guys. Have a good day then.
Thank you,
Right.
Yeah,
sir.
sure.
Bye.
Thank you,
All right,
sir.
thanks, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, so we hope that we can get high marks for this assignment.
No worries lah. I mean, like NW for me is very simple. It's you either A or A minus. If you get B, you might want to ask like why, because it's a subject that is not as syllabus, right? It's more about you preparing yourself for the industry. Okay, right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So do we need to like have small meeting for this or no need?
I think maybe you can.
I think we should have a post-mortem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to do it now? Or
Yeah, Evan,
Evan
Evan
left already.
Evan
Oh,
left.
shit.
Is Sir still in? Cause I see like his name
That's
there.
his guest.
small. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Oh no, shall we call Evan in?
yeah. I already text him.
Oh,
Come back.
oh I will send the feedback form to the
Interview as a group, is it? Or what you want?
the
No, no, Yvonne, Siobhan, we are not interview in as a group. We are interview in individual.
Oh,
Yeah,
He said we'll see, right? Cause he said
Yeah.
He said
yeah.
depending on the time lah. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, he
Evan
has
have
a
a meeting.
appointment.
Yeah, it's okay
Then
then.
maybe do it later.
Okay, later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe
Thanks,
if
guys.
yeah.
No, I think we can move on first because like I yeah. But
Oh.
Evan is waiting in the lobby. Din.
You joined for a while.
Yeah. I think for like overall, I think it's okay lah. Just maybe next time if we have this kind of webinar, I think we need some teamworks. Like, yeah, more teamworks.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
And
not fair like just reaching I taking everything.
yeah, I actually expect like everyone open up camps actually. Yeah, but yeah, you guys got open as well lah. I think it's alright. Just and
I don't think the camera thing is that big of an issue personally, because the
yeah.
focus has to be on Tyler because he's the one that's presenting. That's how I feel about it lah.
Yeah, and I personally I don't feel comfortable opening my cams a lot. So I open when it's crucial lah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
understand lah.
beginning, ending, yeah, sure. But I don't. But when he's presenting, I think it's just okay to just let him do his thing.
I think overall it's okay lah. Maybe we just need to like next time we need to like divide the task more over and like you guys maybe should like a webinar is not an easy job actually. What I think lah.
Yeah.
It's a very cool experience and yeah, I actually just like worry about the participants, but but participant looks okay. 60, the highest amount is 69 participants, and then yeah. So we'll see. Can someone, Alicia, can you like access the feedback form right now?
Yeah, I can. Currently there's like 28 responses.
Yeah. So
So-
I'm actually worried about the feedback form.
I think
I'll email Mr. Philip as well to let
Yeah.
him pass it on to the students because they did not register the PR students.
yeah, I think like cause some of the PR students I saw they already like
Left before.
yeah, and some of them already answered. So most of like part of the responses are from certain PR students as well. So there are people who are registered who haven't answered the feedback form yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe maybe the reports and the whole slide, not slide, document, we need to like do it very well and we need to submit to Dr. Izzuddin. So email him or is there any due date?
No.
Okay, I think then we are done for this webinar, and yeah.
All right.
Okay,
Good job,
so
guys.
yeah, well done. Yeah, so we can end for now, and then yeah, just to like mention, maybe the dogs need your help.
Okay. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, okay. Thank you guys. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.